Hi everyone. So here's a quick video. It's just going to show you how to complete this assignment, and I want you to watch it to make sure that you complete it and meet my expectations, meet the rubric criteria, and get the points. All right, so it's a bit of library research. You can either go into the GCC library from the home page here just by clicking on library, or you can go into it from our Canvas course. You can see the GCC library here also has a direct link. However, this one isn't truly direct. You'll have to click twice, go through 2 pages. So I always just use the home page entrance. And once I'm in the library, I scroll down. And for this one, you're going to go into Databases A to Z. You're going to choose P for ProQuest. You're going to roll down, and you're going to use the very first ProQuest, not ProQuest eBook Central, not ProQuest News and Issues or a Research Companion. Right now, you're going to use ProQuest Featured. And if you're unsure about how to use this database and this doesn't make it clear enough for you, go ahead and watch this video. Here's what I'm going to show you. Once you're in ProQuest, you're going to put in just PFAS, which is what we're studying. You want it to appear in the title of the document. You may want to put in another term like regulation or law or legal. You may want to just leave it as PFAS alone. Now, you're going to click peer-reviewed because that means you're going to get scholarly information. If you don't click peer-reviewed, you can get junk that's in the newspaper, junk that's been written by, somebody who's a chemical company lobbyist. So you're going to choose peer-reviewed, full text. You are going to choose last 3 years. So since 2022. We're not going to bother with any of the others of these restrictions right now, although you could certainly say, I only want it to be an article. But this is sort of interesting. You could get archival news footage, etc., if you don't restrict. Okay, let's search. We get 259 results. That is not bad. These are sorted right now by most recent. You can also change that to most relevant. This little mortarboard indicates that it is a scholarly journal. It's supposed to be an icon of a cap from a cap and gown. Quantification of PFAS in soils treated with biosolids. This is from the Nature Publisher Group in London. That's reputable. One of the things that you're going to do is make sure that you are choosing a scholarly article that is interesting to you, has been published within the last 3 years, and comes from a very well-recognized source. So this one is from Water in Basel, and that's a pretty recognized journal. Lancet Oncology, very well respected, the Lancet Medical Journal. Nature Communications, always well respected. Dental Assistant Chicago, I don't think so, even though PFAS in dental floss is an interesting subject. Let's just quickly modify search so that you can see what would happen to this number if you were to add a second term. So what if I added and regulation? All right. And I'd maybe like to see it in the abstract, not quite as specific as the title, but in the abstract. Still peer-reviewed, still last 3 years. And now I get 13 results. That's far fewer. Much easier to go through as titles to determine whether you can see something that's relevant to your study. This is in November 2024, so when we read White House develops strategy for PFAS education and resources, we know that that was the preceding Biden administration. November 2024 is when it was published. That means that this paper was probably prepared at least 6 months beforehand, and this was the month of the election. So we know that this is not the White House of the Trump administration. You would read through a good number of these article titles to see what you find, what might be interesting for you to examine now that you're halfway through exposure. Routine blood testing for forever chemicals, that's something we're learning about in Bilot's book. Read through the titles to decide which one of the articles you're going to represent in your assignment, in your submission. And along with reading through the titles, one of the things that you can do if you find a title that seems interesting to you is to click on Quick Look. Quick Look will allow you to see the abstract summary, and you can decide whether or not this actually is something that you want to read. because you're only reading one for this particular assignment. Possible solutions for removal is one that's definitely going to be a more encouraging article. And if you notice here, it was published this year, so within the last 4 months. All right, so now you know how to look around. Then when you find the article that you want to review, you'll open it up. You'll read through the abstract, which is a summary written by the author, not necessarily a reliable one. Then you'll read through the article that you've selected because it was interesting to you, and then you will give us a quick summary. Don't make the summary using AI, ChatGPT. It often is inaccurate, and it doesn't help you to learn how to access information in a reliable, well-processed fashion, which is what you want to train your brain to do. An attribute of scholarly journals that's extremely valuable to us as we begin our research is the reference section. And the reference section gives you another series of reliable resources which have been used by the author to construct his or her or their argument. So it's worth looking through these if you really like the article that you select, because you can find yourself even more resources for your particular research project. And then there are suggested sources. Okay, so you know how to find your resource. You know that I need you to go through the GCC library. Don't try to go straight from your browser into ProQuest because you won't get access to the same kinds of scholarship. Alrighty,